Well, today we're going to touch a number of different levels of Jewish life in Los Angeles and across America. We'll meet Dan Katzir, filmmaker from Israel, who is settled in Hollywood and has done some remarkable works. We'll look at the Yiddish theater with Dan Katzir.
Gegangen ist Havele, verklärt und verhollend, zerlost ihre goldblonde Zähne. Das Häsel entbläst sich gemurmelt, a Liedale, Liedale, tralalala.
Well, shalom, welcome back to our program. Dan Katzir is here. He's an example of one of the prolific Israeli now living in America. It goes back to Israel all the time. Filmmakers. And we've talked to him before, and it's great to have you here to talk about what's happening at the...
Thanks for having me back.
Okay, well, let me write that down. One thank you card. I know you have something you want to share with our audience that is happening, one of your new ventures going on the screen at the... Is it the Grauman Chinese? Or
It's the Chinese Theater 4 on October 8th at 2 p.m. There's the LA premiere of my new film, Yiddish Theater, A Love Story. Basically, it's the third chapter of my personal video diary that I've been making along the years. The first one, some people know, is Out for Love, Be Back Shortly, which is considered by many the most important film about the Rabin period. It was shown on HBO, won a lot of awards. Second one is a film I shot and my mom edited. It's about my grandmother's Shiva and tells the story of Israel changing. And now the third one is about the Yiddish theater, and it's about the Jewish culture changing and our relationship to our older culture.
Well, I can understand the Rabin era. I can understand the Shiva and your family.
Yeah.
But how do you connect with the Yiddish theater?
So it's a funny story. Actually, my grandmother, her claim to fame was that she was on this show called the Mudaesh, one of the most famous Israeli shows, and she was interviewed there about being one of the young people who killed Yiddish in Israel. And my whole life, I grew up hating Yiddish and people who spoke Yiddish.
Your grandmother killed Yiddish?
She was one of the people. There was a group called Gdud Maginei HaSefa, which was a group of young kids who would walk in the streets of Israel and not allow any older person to speak Yiddish. And they would give them cards of, you should be ashamed for speaking Yiddish.
Because you should speak
Hebrew.
I just thought with the blanks there.
Yeah, it says Jews speak Hebrew. And that was, and they would have flags, and they kind of terrorized all these kids. And she used to terrorize on a daily basis Chaim Nachman Bialik, the Israeli national poet.
Which I don't think probably really succeeded. She didn't, that was one project she didn't succeed in.
Right, but it was funny that the Hebrew poet, the most famous Israeli poet, actually spoke in his spare time Yiddish. So I grew up hating Yiddish, but then I was on vacation in New York, and I met this older actress, Zippor Speisman, and I didn't know who she was at the time, and she said, come see my new show in Yiddish. I said, listen, I don't know, I'm on vacation, and I came to see her show. She was so persistent and so energetic and so charismatic, and I saw the show, and I was in tears at the end. And for me, coming to a show that I did not want to come, in a language I did not want to hear, and kind of was in a way forbidden in my home, and to come out so emotional, I kind of said, wow. And then I asked her, how can I help? And she said, we have money for one more week. It was Hanukkah. And she said, I said to her, look, I don't have the money or the connection in New York to help your show, but I can document it, so I can try to pass the message to the world. And that's how my story, my love story with Yiddish started. Later I discovered that Zippor was actually the woman who, thanks to her, Yiddish stayed alive in New York for the last 42 years. Why don't you play English?
I don't like it.
Why?
Because my language will disappear. And the English language will stay. and how much I can manage to save it, I like to speak Yiddish. My grandchildren don't speak Yiddish.
No?
No, because they grow up in Washington. Nobody understands Yiddish. Yiddish is a beautiful language, has a beautiful history.
Phil Blazer will be right back after these messages.